my lovely LEGO addicts. What is this? A review of a module that's literally been out since the dawn of time? I know, I'm sorry, but I recently acquired this modular brand new sealed in box, which is super exciting, and I've built most of it on stream, so inevitably I have probably made 1 or 2 errors in the build because I kind of got to relive building this and kind of look at all the details of this modular. I thought, you know what, let me just do a review on this in my usual chatty style, because I don't think I ever did when I got it way back when, and you know, it's all refreshed in my mind. So talking about it from some sort of like reflection standpoint, because obviously I have owned this modular for about 1.5 years. It's been in my city all that time. It's kind of set the tone for my city, and if you've watched my recent best 10 sets ever video or whatever I decided to call it, this is actually the representative modular. So obviously I'm coming into this review from a very positive, I absolutely adore this build standpoint. Some of you may want to buy this modular still, or are thinking about it, but are finding it hard to make a decision because these now go for more than they used to, and therefore making a decision on whether to purchase them or not is harder because they just cost more. Here are some facts, I'll put them on the screen if you want. It is a beautiful modular released after the Palace Cinema. It really feels like a turning point in modular design because if you think back to the Palace Cinema, I think everybody says, oh yeah, the exterior is pretty nice, but the interior is pretty lacking. This modular really seems to take that feedback and just go, don't worry, we've got you, and gives us really great interiors, especially on the ground floor, but even in the first and second floor there is still enough detail to make it really nice. It was also a really ornate building, lots of stuff going on, lots of detail, which is always really fun, and a really unique roof design that we don't get to see a lot in modulars just because we get quite a lot of flat roofs really, so it's really nice to see some sort of different technique used to create a different shape of building or a different shape of roof line. The curved roof does mean that inside on the second floor there isn't like that much room, so there is only like an easel and a painting, but you know, it's fine. I think personally, from my perspective, I think they've utilised that space really well, and I'm glad that we get this roof design over an interior because I think it's more interesting to kind of get a bit of new design than it is to get a new interior because you could always change an interior yourself. So personally, I have to say, when I started building this again, I was reminded as to how detailed and joyous the bottom level of this build is. Especially the kitchen is just a fantastic design. It's all tiled. There's things in the fridge, there's things on the wall. The kitchen feels really complete, and as a minifigure you can really just step in there and whip up some amazing food. I really loved the commercial kitchen. It's really well designed. It's huge. Love the colours that they're using, and yeah, it's just really well thought through, and even just the back door and like exit into the back of the modular where there is some like ivy on the wall, there is a little outside tap, there's a mouse, which I loved. I don't know when Ratatouille came out, but I really hope that the rat is there because of the Ratatouille movie. With this modular, I really feel like it can be a corner modular or it can be like an in-between thing. It's just really nice to look at from all sides. From this side, because you get to have the like little roof terrace, you get the like nice chimney breast, which I really like how much detail there is on this. It's really like that technique that you want to use when you're building castles with like bricks coming out and like detail, but a lot of light bluish grey. It's really nice how they did that. And then I really enjoyed that there is some outdoor seating because I feel like that's quite important. And then there's a really cute little terrace here in front, which has Shay in like mosaic tiles, and I thought that was really pretty. One of my favourite tiles in this modular is the menu card, the printed menu card in front of the restaurant with like just a shiny gold letters. It's so beautiful. And then inside you have like some more tables and some beautifully lush thick curtains and like a wine cabinet, and I just think it looks really good and it feels really special. As you've seen from all the modulars before this, interiors really weren't up to this level, I don't think. So this is really the first one where you kind of feel like the package is there, it's all together, it looks beautiful. I think that probably segues into what I want to talk about, which is the colour choices for this modular. I am very partial to olive green. It's a beautiful colour, I love it very much anyway, and I think I love it even more because one of the first olive green bricks that I used to build with is in this set, and I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks amazing together with the light bluish grey, the dark bluish grey, and then the dark blue roof with the white accents. Really, there is a lot of stuff going on this facade, and it all harmoniously worked together. I'm really glad that they didn't choose the sort of like expected colour scheme for maybe a Parisian house with like the dark bluish grey roof and maybe tan. I think the colour that they chose is really unique and kind of really makes it stand out, especially considering all of the models that have come out. There isn't that many that I can think of that have used olive green since, so it really does stand out. But I personally think in a good way. One of my favourite things that they did is like how this stairs wraps around. I think it makes it just look really complete. I think the back of this modular is actually really rather pleasant. Similar to the diner actually, I really think that back is also really nice. This still looks really beautiful. There is like still flowers. The way that this opens up is just genius, so you still have access to that top floor even though it doesn't quite lift off in the same way that other ones do. Colours, again, beautiful. I like how the windows are incorporated at the top. And overall, I still think the back of this modular looks really, really nice, which is when you have a table city and you get to see the back of modulars, that's just so nice to have. I think my one small point of criticism that I have for this building, and it's not really like criticism, it's probably just like my least favourite thing about it, is that they used these tan pins in these white bricks here to create some sort of like ornate facade design, but I'm not a fan of it. And also then next to it there is this sort of like detail above the window which is done with a light bluish grey brick, and I don't think that's nice either. It doesn't bother me, it's not like, oh my gosh, it's really ugly, it's just nowadays if this came out I reckon it would just be white because they would just produce that piece in white. So that's probably my only change that I would make. I would probably change these studs for like more flattened white ones because that would feel slightly more purposeful, or maybe like a little tart piece or something. But I really love the use of the shells and the croissants here. It's just very, very clever. As we often see anyway, the minifigures that come with the set kind of tell a story. There's like the couple that's going to probably get engaged. There is the chef, there is the server, so you kind of have that little chance to have the story play out. There's the girl that is both, that you can probably imagine living in this apartment and being the painter for the top floor. And she's also the one that can ride the red Vespa, which I'm assuming is a Vespa. 5 minifigures isn't a lot, especially considering how big the restaurant is, but I think there is enough that there is one for every main task. So waiter, chef, person that lives here / painter, and then the couple in the restaurant. They are obviously still the ones with the normal sort of like Lego original faces, which I hate, but they obviously changed that since the diner where they actually started giving them the detailed faces, which I much prefer. And actually in the set that I have incorporated in my city, I've replaced all of the faces. And overall, just rebuilding this reminded me of some of the amazing techniques used for this modular. I especially like the way that they've created the front of the building. It's really ornate, but actually it's a really quite simple technique which makes you think, oh, maybe like I could do that somewhere else. As I said, I really, really like the roof. It's fantastic. It makes me want to maybe do like another Parisian building that is tan and dark bluish grey with a similar roof line, because it would be so pretty. I think it's probably worth having just a look at the individual floors just so I can kind of talk about them in more depth. As I was saying, the top floor of this modular doesn't open like traditional modulars do. It opens from this side where you kind of open the side of the roof, and then you can look in. There is like an easel, like a stove or whatever you want to call it. There is like an extra painting and some paint, but there isn't really any extra detail behind the door where you can't really see anyway. It could do with a bit more detail, but overall, if it is a painter studio, maybe the only things that there would be is more painting. So actually it doesn't feel overly lacking. As an individual floor, the exterior of it is really, really beautiful, because often the final floor that you build on modulars is just kind of like the flat roof with the roof detailing. So the fact that this is actually a really, really interesting, lovely build is a bit different to more modern ones that we've seen recently. Who knows, you know, maybe next year it's going to be like a different roof again, but that was a really interesting build. Then the first floor, because as we're just breaking this down as we're going down, we've got sort of the apartment, and it felt very Parisian to me because it is not a big space, but it's utilised really, really well and really well thought about. So you have a really nice swinging chair design, which I really adore. There's a little table in front of the fire. There's like a light in the corner that like can light up. And then there's the Murphy bed, which is probably my favourite thing. That sort of like folds up and down. It's something that I would really like in my own house for the second room, like the second bedroom. So we have like a Murphy bed that either can be a bed or can be a table, depending on like if I have guests or not. One day. And then there's a really quaint little tiny kitchen in the side there, which is very, I think, tiny, but it has everything you need, and I think it's a really fun design, the way that's incorporated. And then there's a tiny little seat and a table by the window, which is obviously where you'd want to have breakfast because it's just so cute. And then there's a little balcony in the front. Then interesting, the design means that the actual roof terrace is separate to that build. I think maybe they thought it'd be too fragile, but that works really, really well. It just is a slightly separate build. It has really nice lanterns. The flower pots are one of my favourite designs, and then there's some nice colour that they chose for the tables and the chairs, which really jump out but don't clash. It just makes it look really vibrant, which I really enjoy. And then the bottom floor is my favourite, as you know. It's just so detailed. There are 2 tables inside the wine cabinet, and there's like little lamps on the tables, really beautiful curtains hanging down. There's a picture, and then the kitchen is just the kitchen of dreams with like a working fridge, like a dough roller. There's like plates and glasses ready to be washed up, like knives, the cooked chicken, like pastries ready to go. It's just, oh my gosh, like I love this kitchen so much. I really like the different tile designs. It's really pretty. I love it. It's such a good design. It's really fun to build as well. It's not huge, but it also doesn't feel like it's lacking size-wise or anything. I think if you compare them with some of the newer modulars, it probably is a little bit more compact, especially because like essentially the second floor only is sort of like a painter studio and a roof, but not really another scene or anything, because obviously in most of the other modules that we've seen more recently, there's slightly more going on with that floor. Actually, the only reason that this one sits behind the boutique hotel facing the door when you walk in my city is because I have the haunted house in my city. I've made that modular, and actually that's also olive green with light bluish grey, so I didn't want to have them sit too close together because they have quite a different vibe, because obviously the haunted house is way more gothic and this is really ornate, but I still want them both in my city, so I decided to have them face a different way. Even though I don't really mind too much when there's like colour repetition, but in this case the colour scheme is similar, even though obviously it has a very different vibe. So now kind of like going into if it's worth it and sort of like the reflective bit of this review. I've had this modular a long time, so when time goes on it's interesting to see if it like holds up or if it starts to feel outdated, like in a way the Cafe Corner, Greengrocer, all of those starts to feel like old school modular just because of the lack of interiors and certain features of it where like if they were to come out now, we know there would be different bricks used, for example, to make it more smooth. This one surprisingly really holds up to the same level that the other ones that have come out. Like it really comfortably sits next to it. I think if you are a new person into Lego, you would not realise this is so old or like is so much older than some of the other ones that have come out. So I think that really says a lot about this modular, and it's a really good, interesting thing to note. It really, as I said, set the tone. So I think if you are starting to collect your own modular line and you're kind of like trying to figure out what buildings do I want and what buildings are worth it and what buildings fit together, the older you go, generally the more expensive they become. And I think I personally, for myself, kind of drew the line after the Parisian Restaurant, because I personally don't love the Palace Cinema. I think it's just not my style of modular. And then everything before then I like, but not for the prices they go for. I do think that the Parisian Restaurant is kind of balancing on that place where like I'm not sure if it's worth it. Like it's a really beautiful one, and if you can find a good deal on it, like 100% pick it up. But it hugely depends on like how into the modulars you are and how much you personally like this modular look-wise for you to kind of make that decision of whether it's worth it. When I built this the first time, I'd only ever built Assembly Square, so I had very different types of expectations. I hadn't seen as much. I've done lots of remocks now. I've built lots of modulars at this point. I've made some mocks for my modulars, and actually this still holds up so well. Basically, what I'm saying is I absolutely adore this modular. I love the colour scheme. I love like the interiors. I love like I just love it. It's fantastic. It's super ornate, and I do think it's worth your money, but obviously do try and see if you can find it for a good deal, even though I know it's quite hard these days because there's a lot of us AFOLs that want our modulars. Alrighty, well, I hope that was sort of like interesting to listen to. Let me know what you guys think about this modular. Have you got it? Like, do you think it's worth getting? Or are you like, nah, I don't need all the modulars, it's fine? Totally interested in hearing your opinion on this because, you know, all of these things, some people love them, some people hate them, or at least don't need them per se, and it's always interesting to hear everybody's opinion. I am planning on doing a modular ranking video together with my friend Alberto, which should be really fun. So that is coming soon. Obviously you may now know my top one. Oh no, I gave it away. But it should be really fun to kind of discuss all the modules that ever came out and kind of figure out what we think is good and what we think is not so good. So that should be an interesting video because we do not always agree. And apart from that, I think that is all my points are covered. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I know I will, because there is Lego to be built. And I will see you very soon. Hello! Bye! You're so pretty. Sometimes I talk and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.